Hello, Jimjamatic here. Welcome to the brand new series of episode reviews. Because we've passed series one, it was a decent series. Now for not a decent series. Series two. As you know, this is probably the worst series, as a lot of people don't like it. And speaking of people who don't like and series two in the same sentence, we have my guest with me.
Hey guys, Anderson 9132 here. I feel like I've been lobotomized by watching this heat over again. Honestly, I just have no instinct to do anything anymore.
It's understandable because we'll get into it some more detail. But series two is your least favorite series, I as I recall.
Yes, it is my least favorite. That's not to say I don't like it. I like every series of Robot Wars. It's just my least favorite out of the lot. And
Something has to come at the bottom.
yes, and this one is very very far at the bottom. Uh,
Luckily, I've got a while for me for Series 5 until we get to the series I don't
yeah.
like. I mean, this is my second least favourite, but I think I mentioned before, I have quite a nostalgic thing for this, but I cannot sit there and go, oh, this is a great heat, because it's not. It's a terrible heat. But one thing we should probably talk about before is actually where we have two new additions to this series, which weren't in Series 1. The first being we have a different host now, because we had Jeremy Clarkson for the first 6 episodes, and then from Series 2 onwards, because he was a bit too busy, I think, we have Craig Charles of Red Dwarf fame, did a bit of Takeshi's Castle, I think he's in Coronation Street as well. He's got quite a lot of things going on his plate. How do you, what do you think of Craig Charles compared to Jeremy Clarkson then? Because he's on the majority of the show.
Yeah, I personally think Craig Charles was much better than Jeremy Clarkson. Jeremy Clarkson didn't seem overly invested. Craig Charles did. It also made more sense, really, for Craig. I mean, Robot Wars sign that sounds futuristic, like, sci-fi futuristic Red Dwarf.
Hmm.
Jeremy Clarkson knows cars. He doesn't know robots. He doesn't know much about the technology behind it.
Hmm.
Um, and of course, when it comes to a show like Robot Wars, you need a host which is overly energetic because at the end of the, or at least, it shows that he enjoys it. Because at the end of the day, it is more of a show for entertainment purposes than it is sporting or factual purposes. I would say.
Hmm.
So because of that, I think it's much nicer. I just think Craig Charles works better as like a dry comedian
Hmm.
who tells some really bad jokes occasionally.
I agree. I kind of like what I liked about Craig Charles over Jeremy Clarkson was the fact that he was a bit more sympathetic to some people. Like, because obviously there's more kids on this series. Obviously, get more kids into the shows. There's people who might be a bit disappointed about it. I'm not saying, you could be all, oh no, it's all right, no, don't be sad about it. But at the same time, you got to be like a bit tactful, and he wasn't as tactful, Clarkson, with
No.
that kind of stuff. Like, calling things like Prince of Darkness the worst thing he's ever seen and stuff, and just saying, oh, that was a bit of a shit run,
Yeah.
basically. And he's like, well, Craig Charles go, oh, better luck next time. But, I mean, it was a bit. It was a little bit too much near the end of the series, but and initially it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
You could tell the series where he was doing drugs. I think
Yeah.
by series 5 or something, he's just yelling at that point.
Yes.
In the earlier series, it's a little bit more dry, yeah, a bit more, few bad jokes, but just you enjoyed being having as a host a bit more.
Yeah.
And I said there's two additions because the other one is the new house robot. The first time they add a new house robot, and it won't be the last. Some for the better, some for the worse. This one is Sir Killalot.
Hmm.
Sir Killalot is hands down in this series the most overpowered house robot. It took until about, I don't know, it took a while for the robots to start getting a bit better, that he started getting a little bit less overpowered, but he's still a force to reckon with even throughout the series.
Yes.
He's one of the heaviest ones. I think Mr. Psycho's the one that outweighed him.
Yeah. It was.
It wasn't as prominent in the new series as much, but in this particular series, I think he really wanted to make his voice shown. Uh, he is massive for the. He shouldn't have been in the Gauntlet, in my opinion. He is too big for it.
Yeah. I personally think that this was a bit too overpowered. This is more of a Series 3 House Robot than a Series 2 House Robot. I think that I mean, it's a lot of problems with Series 2 are just the fact that the robots got absolutely manhandled by the house robots. And
Yeah,
this is a perfect example of it, really. Unfortunately.
yeah. The biggest problem I think I found was it because he was so large. Like in Series 3, since the arena was so big, he was only in one corner of it. While here, it's like a bulldozer going through a tiny maze. Like you have no way of getting past him half the time unless you either get lucky, like he goes backwards or something, you just have to get a gap, or you just get flipped over. There's like no in between. You
Yeah.
have to get lucky or you just get killed, and he epitomised that. And I think in the battles it wasn't as bad because, well, they were always bad. But at least in the gauntlet there was like no room to move, so you literally had to take him on if you were gonna go against him. And some robots succeeded, Some got lucky, and some, as we'll find out, did poorly against him. But should we probably get on to the robots? You think they'd improve from Series 2, but apparently looking at this heat, you think, no,
No,
no.
no.
Some are okay, and some are absolutely awful.
Oh yeah.
But speaking of absolutely awful, the Heat winner. I shouldn't be saying that. I shouldn't have to say this for a Heat winner, but I do because it's awful. It's Napalm. The infamous Napalm has finally appeared in the series, and
Yes.
I mean, it's all signs point to good when Detonator was your previous robot.
Yes.
Um,
All
it,
signs point to how good this series is when Napalm won a heat.
yes, you couldn't have had Mortis's Heat first. You couldn't have had Panic Attack's Heat first. You had to have Napalm's Heat first.
Yay!
Oh God! And Napalm is an interesting robot because I mean it's one of those robots that I enjoy the team, but I really hate the robot. It's hard to explain really because they had a weapon in this series. Well, all for the 2 seconds it managed to last. I don't know what they stuck the weapon on with. It was supposed to be what was supposed to happen. I think it was supposed to be like a mandibles that opened up, and then the chainsaw would turn on, and you'd attack it with that.
Yeah.
Spoilers: it fell off without any assistance. Sikar didn't even cut it off; it just fell off.
Dropped off. Yes.
Yeah, just picked him up. Oh, it's off now. The mandibles became the signature weapon for the rest of the series for some reason, except Shadow of Napalm, which is probably the suckiest one they've ever made, which is saying something. That thing is absolutely pitiful. I think its chassis broke fighting Dominator 2 with again just a few axe blows.
Yes.
So that's pathetic. So much so it couldn't even compete in the War Independence because of it. And they bring Detonator in instead.
Yay!
Napalm. What's your overall thoughts on the Napalm legacy from Series 2 to Series 5?
Oh God! I mean, I like underdog stories. I like the idea of a robot that they haven't got much money, so it's got a bit of a scrap value to it. It looks like it was built in the shed. I like that and all that, but you would expect them to at least improve. And I think the main thing that I didn't like about Napalm was that it just would not improve. Like, I mean, they entered the exact same pile of scrap in Series Bloody 5 for crying out loud.
That's true.
And I just, no.
There's a lateness to it.
Yeah, and again, yes, it's nice to see those kinds of robots, but only if they then get smashed up in the first couple matches because you don't want them to impede on the rest of the series. This robot would have made it past the semi-final, well, not past the semi-final, but past the bloody trials in the semi-finals, if not for the Mortis scandal. We'll get to that.
That is one of the biggest scandals of the entire series period.
Yes.
But the one thing about Napalm that really irritates me is half of it because of that they just don't feel like they want to improve at any point. Like, they're unlike robots like Sir Chromalot and Thunderbird boys. They knew they were a joke after a while, so I guess improving wasn't the biggest deal. I think somehow these guys felt like they were going to do well. Like, well, David Crosby thought he was going to do well anyway. He always felt like he was trying to do well, but you didn't realize. I mean, in Series 2 to Series 3, they didn't even change the robot. They brought the same robot in.
Yes.
That's how lazy they were. And then they made a new robot, and it did terribly. And then they made another Napalm, which was somehow managed to beat Gemini. I don't know how that happened, but it did. And then this thing comes along in Series 2. I've barely talked about the Series 2 robot, because it's just basically the same as Series 3. And it's not changed much. I mean, it's just the same with the wedge and then the prongs at the back, which apparently are really deadly if you're a human. But yeah, Napalm sucks.
To be honest, I doubt they would have done damage to a human being.
Yeah, and there's nothing against the guy, but on camera, David Crosby really annoys me. There's something like it almost feels like they don't want to be there, but he's like forcing these camera girls to do it with him. Like, we're gonna build a robot.
Boisterous, isn't he?
He's very over boisterous, and it's not like he's not. I'm sure he's a nice guy, but he always comes off as really irritating on the show. Like, especially in the earlier series, and later on, it's just he kind of fades out. But like in the first couple of 2 or 3, he's like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna beat them. We're gonna beat them." It's like, oh God, David, you're not gonna do it. You're not gonna beat anything. You couldn't even beat a robot with no weapons in Series 3. How are you gonna beat? Yeah. How you beat something with a weapon? And that thing just pushed you. That thing destroyed you by pushing you into a wall. So you can't go and say you're gonna win this. And this thing did somehow. It's amazing, and we'll get to how it won later on.
Yes.
God knows. I mean, it wasn't the better robots in this Heat, which is very sad to say. But it wasn't Heat. It wasn't semi-final worthy. I say that.
No, definitely not. No.
Speaking of semi-final worthy.
Oh yes.
Well, the one that should have won the Heat, Demolition Demon, the most competent robot in this Heat.
That's
hands
definitely
down.
saying something.
It's saying something, but at least it was reliable. It didn't break down. It didn't. Its weapon pod wasn't that good. I mean, the saw wasn't doing anything, but it had. Yeah, it came first in both Gauntlet and Trials. It actually, was driven decently. It had decent control. It should have won, and it didn't.
Yeah, very. This is like the first very controversial decision, really, isn't it, of the series?
Well, maybe actually no, maybe Mortis and Recyclops is the first big one.
I don't know. Maybe then, yeah. But this is definitely up there, with one of the first.
Oh yeah, this is the one that people start getting annoyed at.
Thing is, Demolition Demon as well. Whilst it was well controlled, do you really see it doing well in the semi-finals?
I'm not right. This is the thing. I don't care how well it would have done later on. If a robot should have won, it should have won. That's how I see it. I don't care.
That's fair enough.
Because
I'm.
I don't know.
I don't know. To be honest, I've watched that decision several times. It's actually been one I've been planning on doing for my judge's decision vlog, which I do for the wiki.
Well, we'll get to it later, obviously.
Plenty of times, but we'll get to that later, as we say. But the Demolition Demon as a total, I'm not really a massive fan, to be honest.
No. I don't love the robot.
Just one of those robots that was just there.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying it's like a great robot. Its Series 3 version was pitiful.
Oh God, yes.
What a way to downgrade instead of upgrade. But yeah, I'm not calling out and saying Demolition Demon is like the best robot ever, but I'm just saying it just should have won. That's the thing. That's all that really matters to me. End of the day, I'm not saying I'm not gonna go and call T2 an amazing robot, but again, it should have won. And
I disagree with that one, but there you go.
we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. We will get to that, Ducky.
So yeah, there's not much to say about Demolition Demon really. It's just
we keep veering off.
It's a well-controlled pyramid, basically, with a saw that didn't do anything and a spike that didn't do anything.
Yay!
But now a robot that I question what the point of this thing even supposed to be. Victor.
What the bloody hell was that? It was a tricycle.
It's a tricycle with a coffin on it, with some kind of blade at the front, which made little fly go. Whoa, that's amazing. It's the most awkward way to design a robot possible, by making its wheels slanted, make it really high off the ground.
Oh
and,
yeah.
And then just give it a really useless weapon at the front. It's just everything about it is just, what is this?
It just, yeah. I mean, oh no.
And somehow the Series 3 version, they made a worse weapon.
I know.
I mean, they made it so badly they actually managed to kill it. It managed to hit itself. That's how bad its weapon got.
I know, that's pretty pathetic, isn't it?
That's bad for a spinning weapon.
Yeah.
Imagine if Hypnodisc could hit itself. That'd be awful. Yeah, Victor got through by a lot of luck. In fairness, in this heat, they got lucky in the goal. The trials. Well, actually, they came second to last in the trials. Actually, they got lucky there as well. That another robot was just absolutely pitiful.
Yes.
I'm using that word a lot in this heat.
Sorry.
It's weird because it's actually the first robot introduced in Series 2, and what a great start to a first seeing of a robot. Like, you see Roadblock first, and you go, oh, that's really big, it's powerful.
That's big, powerful.
First one out the gate, Victor. Oh, what's this? What am I in for this heat?
Yeah.
And then you see a couple, you see Caliban, you see Demolition Demon, and go, maybe. Then Napalm appears, and you go, oh god, these guys are back. Yeah, and these guys, it wasn't a good robot, Victor.
No, it wasn't.
It broke down out of nothing.
Their
twice.
Series 7 robot, the Kraken, was pretty good.
The Kraken was alright. It was just a generic crusher, though. They actually went for a robot that actually was effective that time.
Yes.
Here, it was just kind of, again, when going from Victor to Victor 2, I'll be honest with you, it's very hard to tell. If you didn't know anything about Robot Wars, saying which one came first was very hard. Because they're exactly the same. Just one's got slightly different wheels and weapon. That's it.
That is literally the only difference, isn't it?
And it pitted itself. That's how good this thing is in Series 3. It pitted itself by pure stupidity.
Jolly good show.
Yeah. So yeah, Victor's rubbish. That's so far 2 rubbish robots and 1 very boring robot. This is a good heat. And now a robot that I'd probably say is on par with Demolition Demon in terms of it could have been alright, but again, bullshit happens.
Yeah.
Pandemonium. Don't get why there's 2 words for this one because it's not panda themed. So there's no pun there. So I don't get what the point of this name, but yeah, this thing was it's alright.
Again, this is a rule I don't really like because I don't really see how it was supposed to work. The weaponry was this lifting prong thing, which wouldn't stab anything even if it was paper, and it was supposed to stab into them and then lift them up. But I just don't see how anybody would think that would work as a weapon. The robot was too slow to do any damage or anything. The spike was too thick to go through anything properly, and it just didn't have enough force behind it. They literally just lowered it a little bit more.
I mean, it's supposed
It
to
would
be.
have been an effective lifter, I think, but not as a stabby thing.
Well, its biggest problem is it was supposed to be a lifter, but its lifter doesn't touch the ground.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, yeah, it was designed
Uh,
to stab then lift.
it's a weird design, to be honest with you. But it's sad when this is one of the most okay robots in the heat. But
Yes.
it's just there. There's not much to say about Pandemonium either. It's just kind of a long robot with a spike, few sets of spikes at the front that didn't do anything. And it looked like a doorstop. You know, those little things you put onto doors. That's what it looked like.
It did.
That's what it looks like. It looks like a doorstop they've stuck on the hinge. And this is our lifter. Yeah, that's great. I mean, I would contest that Body Hammer Series 2, this series version, was probably contested for the worst lifter of the series.
Yes.
But, I mean, yeah, this thing is. It got very, very unfairly just eliminated, though, if I have to say.
Yeah, very unfairly eliminated. But
Because it was
again,
kind of consistent in the heat, and then, yeah, that happened. But whatever.
we will get to that later.
Yeah,
There's a
so.
lot to moan about in this.
There's not much. It's
Everything-
usually not the robots to moan about. It's more just like, what? Like,
Yeah.
this was the starting lineup.
Everything I dislike about this series is in this heat. It can be exemplified in this bloody heat.
Now, this is a robot I've been looking forward to talking about.
Oh fuck!
Oh my god. But a bit of a backstory. These guys are called Team Death, and they're not like some metal band or something. They're one of the teams of robots that have competed in 4 series in total. They always make, apart from Metalis, I think they make really strange, odd, horror type looking robots. They never do very well. They don't do very well, but at the same time, they are at least entertaining to see what they'll come up with next. And what did they come up with first? Put your best foot forward. Pièce de résistance. The bog-eyed microwave with a shovel that didn't really go straight. With something on the top. I don't know what it is. Like a tumor. I don't know what it's supposed to be. a pimple. I don't know what it's supposed to be, that thing at the top. And some spikes. Oh yeah, add those at the back because they did lots of damage.
Yeah.
This thing is.
Woeful.
I'm just gonna go out and say it. It is the worst robot of this series. Possibly one of the worst robots ever in the entire series.
It's up there, isn't it? It's up.
It's
one of the
top 10 worthy for me, definitely, because it is. Where do you like? You really? I mean, you get the true extent of this robot when you see it in the Gauntlet and Trials, really, but you can't tell just by looking, going, "Oh, this is gonna be the worst thing ever." It just looked weird. Then you see it actually do something.
The weapon looked pretty pathetic, though.
Well, yeah, because the thing is, though, it was a snow shovel, right? But the thing is, it bent constantly, and even during the trials, it was lifting upwards.
Yes.
What's this thing? Like, what's the point? At least you can have a scoop. At least make it touch the ground once in a while.
I know, exactly.
Or be straight. That'd be helpful. But no, it just wobbles where it wants, and then you can tell it's a microwave on tricycle wheels because this thing moves like one it would like if you actually did put some tricycle wheels on a microwave, it moves that fast.
Seal the microwave door on it, so it was.
You might as well, yeah. I'm waiting for my pizza to be done. To be honest, with you. It's just this thing is amazing. It's infamous. It really is. It's like
it is. Let's put it this way, right? It is the room of robots on Robot War.
Yeah,
It's
and I
so
will
bad
say-
that you can't help but love it.
that's the thing. I do love it. How shit it is. I genuinely love this team as well. I just love they don't care about things like maneuverability, things that work.
No.
It looks cool. Bring it into Robot Wars, and I at least applaud them for that because they would not give me endless entertainment if that was the case.
Exactly.
And
Like,
as I said, Metalis is probably their least interesting one because it just looks very like it's like some of a scrap heap, but that's it.
yeah.
It's not scary looking. It's not weird. But if Death Warmed Up and Immortalis in your hand look amazing, and I will argue that Death Warmed Up is one of the best looking robots ever put into the series, looks wise. It's got at least got it. Look. I'm not saying it's the best, but it's one of the best ones, like design wise.
I suppose.
But
I wasn't
PS Resistance
a fan.
is as a robot, it is one of the worst things ever.
Yeah.
I mean, quoting the guy who made it, Colin Scott, he said it is a piece of scrap. Like, that's the creator of the robot talking, so I don't feel too harsh saying this.
Nor do I, to be honest.
If he's saying it is, why the hell should I care?
Exactly.
But oh, PS Resistance, we'll get more into it later. It's like when it actually starts doing, well, tries to do something.
Yeah, when it actually. Yeah,
Tries. And yeah, it's just I love this row. I love it. I can't hate it. It's the thing. It's just like it's so, I don't know. It's so pathetic.
so silly that it
It's
actually.
like when the little tiny chihuahua tries to bark at you and like get out of the house. Like, oh,
Oh, you are trying to be defensive.
you want to try and lift things? Go ahead,
Yeah.
spike them away. And now the last robot is the epitome of wasted potential.
And quite ironically, we said the worst robot won the heat. Well, the worst performing robot of this heat was actually the best robot of the heat, in my opinion.
It's really a good, yeah.
Win.
Caliban, the first full-body spinner robot. Oh, because you never got to see it. Of course not.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I complain about innocently is I don't get why they have they have a flywheel and the spinning outside.
Yes.
Here's my point: why didn't they show that off when they came out in the beginning? I mean, all they showed us were in the pit and in their official photo, but they never saw it at any point. Like, at least coming out the door, you want to see that.
Yeah,
But no,
exactly.
crappy little flail. That's what we got to see instead.
Yeah,
The thing,
exactly. Yeah.
like cut your finger if you get near it. That
Yeah,
flail.
ooh. That's
Uh,
that did whine. That did annoy me. That did because I thought we would have. I mean, and imagine if this had made it past the gauntlet, man. It would have ripped up Napalm to shreds.
hmm.
We would have seen some of the most spectacular damage very early on if that was.
I will say something though, in slight defense of why I don't think they deserve to get past the gauntlet.
Go on.
Right, they couldn't control this thing, right?
Oh no, they couldn't.
Right. How did you expect to get past Sir Kill-a-Lot if you bumped into the wall as soon as you go near him? And then you were given an obvious gap at some point to get past. There was one bit where there was actually a gap right near him where they could have just gone forwards, and then even if they'd just gone in the pit, they would have gone further than PS Resistance. That's about 5 meters, that pit.
But at the same time, if you think about it, they would have gotten further if Killot didn't help Pierce the Resistance out.
Actually, if they'd gone for the ram brake, they could have been alright, because the wheels aren't that hard. The wheels, they've got a decent ground clearance to get past that bit.
Basically, they thought themselves, we're small, we can fit past the killer. Oh, wait, no.
And also then they thought they were tough and tried to attack him. And then that didn't work out either, because they ended up in the worst run of the entire series.
I know, it's quite devastating, that, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, they did more damage to the wall than anything else. It's one of those robots. You look at it and you go, oh, that's gonna be great, and then it's like Griffin in a couple episodes' time.
Yeah, that was a massive disappointment.
Massive disappointment. Even he knew it. He knew it. We all knew it. It was a massive disappointment. There's a few of the robots like that. That's probably one that always comes to mind, and this one as well. The first full body spinner, and they fail it.
Yeah.
A little bonus fact though is that their next robot, Daisy Chopper in Series 3, was actually the first vertical flywheel. And that sucked as well.
Yeah.
But these guys pioneered two different types of spinning weapon, and they both fucked it up.
There was only one pioneer I can think of that actually, I think, was very unlucky to lose in its first round, and that was Scarab in Series 3.
Oh, the first Crusher, yeah,
The first horizontal crushing claws.
Yeah, and yeah, that was unlucky.
Very unlucky because of those damn arena spikes. Again, yeah. We'll get to that.
We'll get to it. But Caliban was absolute waste of potential, unfortunately.
Yes.
Again, it proves why the Gauntlet is rubbish, because these guys should have got through.
Exactly.
But speaking of Gauntlet runs, I mean, some of these, it's weird. Like the ones that do alright are the ones you expect to do alright, and the ones that don't. It's obvious who's going to do terrible in the Gauntlet, really.
Yes.
Because Demolition Demon just got past all the house robots pretty easily. I will say too easily. Yeah, they just let it through.
Yeah, that's the problem. I mean, we'll get to it in just a second when we actually move on to the Gauntlet. But yeah, the house robots didn't help either. In fact, is that a nice segue to the Gauntlet, do you think?
Actually, I was just starting to talk about the Gauntlet, about Demolition Demon and all that.
Oh, no, there you go then. No, honestly, okay, fine. Here we go. Rant time. Oh,
go on then.
Right, well, at least they removed that fucking stupid timetable. That was the most pointless thing in existence. Thank God they got rid of that. Unfortunately, it pretty much went downhill from there. Like you said, Demolition Demon made it past all the house robots with no problem. Yeah, friggin' and like I said, right, okay, like I said, PS Resistance gets helped up the friggin' course by Skittles because it picks it up and just carries it halfway up the friggin' course. Yet Caliban gets picked up. Oh, Joel, back to the start for you. Stupid, dumb, pointless. The house robots were not harsh on some robots, yet really harsh on others.
So Panic Attacks heat proves that.
Panic actually definitely proves that. And in one of the worst, and another thing I really hated about it, right? Okay, was there was only one lane that didn't get changed, and that was the one with the ram rig in it.
Mm.
Now throughout the series, right? Okay, the middle lane got changed heavily, and the left lane got changed heavily. But for some reason, the right one never did. The one with the ram rig in it, and that really pissed me off. Because again, right, you have a bunch. This is how is that fair? You have a bunch of robots throughout the series. I mean, for example, the first half of the series didn't even have the Sentinel in it, so of course everybody had a much easier run. You throw the Sentinel in, that means the second half of the series has one of the most hardest runs ever. You know, it
Yeah.
makes half the Gauntlet runs didn't have barrels or bricks in the way. Half of them did, and you just think to yourself, "What the hell is going on here? Why is it changing every damn bloody week? It doesn't make sense. It's not fair on anybody else, and it's just stupid. How can you have a fair basis off of that?" Rant over.
Fair enough. It's like the thing about Series 1 is, even though it did have the Gauntlet and Trials, give them credit, the Gauntlet never changed.
Yes.
I can imagine because it's budgetary reasons probably, but at the same time, it stayed the same. They had a maze and some and some grills, 2 ramps and some drills, and a straight bit.
Yes.
That was poetry there. That's all you have. That's all you have. While here, barrels, bricks, ram rig with the ramps sometimes that did nothing. Then you got the Sentinels sometimes. Yeah, the ram rig was probably. Some people argue it's the ram rig's the hardest bit. I think the middle bit was the hardest bit. The brick wall, whenever the brick wall was there.
Yeah, because
the barrels were easy. The brick wall wasn't.
You couldn't get over the bricks, could you?
I mean, the barrels were easy to get past. The brick wall wasn't. I mean, that suffered about at least. I can't imagine many robots that got. I can't think of many robots that really did well against the brick wall. Like really did successfully first time. They had to take a few goes at it.
Yeah.
And it's infuriating just watching when you see one robot's got low ground clearance get stuck on the ram rig, but then you realize, oh, if they'd gone another way, they've been fine. Or them trying to take. You get some robots like Prometheus. You get Dreadnought and you get Spin Doctor trying different routes because they can't get past one particular route.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, it's like watching like someone like a fly struggling under a glass. It's like you can't get away. It's just like, where do I go? This way, I don't know. And it's like because they don't know because each route is just as shit as the other. Because by the time if you wait too long, the house robots get to you. They take their time. Like you get stuck near the brick wall, you're dead because they're going to come after you. And it's exemplified in this because as I said, Demolition Demon got a very easy route through. They had one. I think they bashed into one of the house robots at most, and then a gap appeared, and they just drove into it. Victor got helped off the brick wall by Sir Killalot.
Yes.
They were stuck. They could not move, and then it wouldn't have mattered in the long run because it would have gone for. I mean, it depends if Sir Killalot had managed to pull him backwards or not, but he came up to them. I think, in fairness, it was probably more accidental, but the fact remains that they still did it. Yeah. Pandemonium probably had the least bullshit one because he actually did get through. Once it got past the ram rig, it's not too hard to get past the next bit, really. They got slammed a bit, but then they went forwards and actually did a legitimately decent run. Napalm got pushed further up the course than they should have. They got stuck on the brick wall, stuck off the side of the ramp, and then Skittles was pushing them forwards as their chainsaw fell off.
Yeah.
Well done. That was the last time they ever attempted a weapon again. In the series, and then PS was it PS to shit. Right, this is probably fun. I've never laughed so hard at a robot failing in my life. Is PS Resistance doing the same thing twice? It charges up against the brick wall and knocks nothing down. It does it again, nothing. It's equivalent of watching someone trying to punch down a brick wall. Like again, the punch they go, oh, it's not working. I can't do it. And then Zakilot comes in and plucks them. Even though it did push them further up the course, it was pretty amusing to see them get lifted over the brick wall. Like it's like, oh, here we go. Fuck off. Like fuck off. Here we go. It's like even Zakilot felt bad for them.
Let's do this properly, lad.
Yeah, and then Caliban, bumps into the wall straight away, drives into Skittles, gets the flail out, misses an opportunity to get past him, and then gets picked up and then pushed right to the very end. Inconsistency for the win. Um, at least the other four sort of got far. These two, one they should have both been taken backwards, but one didn't, one did, and
Mm.
the one that was worse, there was one that got taken forwards.
Yes.
The worst example I think of though of someone getting pulled forward was Whirling Dervish later on.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They got. I mean, in fairness, it wouldn't have in the long run. Thankfully, it didn't matter too much as Parthian shot was rubbish. But if they weren't, then that would have been even more bullshit.
Exactly. I feel
And
bad for the Parthian shot, to be honest.
I do as well, but at the same time, if you can't even come in with your robot working,
Yes.
then there's some consequences that are going to happen with that. I was more
They had
disappointed.
it working at the end.
It didn't work in the end, but only just when they ran out of time. It's like, that's the time you want it working now. But it wasn't even fully built when they brought it into the arena. But, I mean, the one thing that annoyed me about that is they should have got some reserve robots for those ones, really.
Yes.
I'd be annoyed if I was one of the reserve robots and didn't get in. But it's like, wait, they didn't even get in the Gauntlet. Why can't we ever go?
Yeah, I know that's a bit. Again, that's stupid. Same with Kane as well, wasn't it? No.
Yeah, the Pain did exactly the same thing,
Again,
but consecutive heats.
Wheelosaurus was a reserve.
Griffin was a reserve.
Griffin was a reserve. They had reserve robots. Why didn't need to? This series makes no sense.
By that logic, Aurak's Revenge would have just got through in series 3.
Exactly.
But never mind. Anyway, it's bullshit, this particular Gauntlet, and some are better than others. This one's one of the worst ones for purely just how inconsistent the row house robots are, which is probably one of the biggest problems, along with the fact they constantly change.
Yeah.
They're probably like the two biggest problems with the entire Gauntlet in general, and also house robot inconsistency even folds into the trials.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Fortunately, not too much in this one.
Heat L.
Oh god, yeah. Actually, anything involved in that kind of arena kind of sucks.
Yes.
But yeah, it's not as bad in the trials though, and we have a new trials for this. Oh goodness, nice little segue actually. We have Skittles, which is it's all right.
I don't like this trial at all. I
Oh,
just
go on,
don't. I don't. It's just a bunch of robots driving at barrels. Woo, whoopty feckin' do.
It's not fun to watch.
What I think is really funny though is that the only one robot, which is the one that did best in this trial, actually did better than a robot in the second heat it appeared in.
I know, and again, that's the problem with inconsistencies, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I mean Roadblock nearly lost.
Wow.
Yeah, not now, but in Heat G, and it still had more points than every single robot apart from one in this in this heat. That's just pathetic. In fact, no, I think it had more than the winner of the heat as well. The winner of the trial.
Yeah, you did, yeah, because Olympia got 23.
Yeah.
Demolition even got 20. So yeah. That's quite bad.
That's complete inconsistency. Again, exactly. The best robot of this heat did worse than the worst total. Oh, that's just daft.
Actually, one thing I don't get about this trial either is like, how did some of these robots get single digits? Like, how is that even possible?
Possible, yeah.
I mean, I saw Pandemonium, it drove right into it. How do you not get more than 10 down? But I don't know. Victor got stuck or it broke down. I can't tell what it is. It's just it's crap, so I can't tell if it broke down or it just got stuck. I would bank it got stuck because it's so big.
Yes.
But and Napalm. Surprisingly, you think this would be a heat it would do well in 9 again.
Yeah.
9. Well, massive scoop didn't do anything.
Yes, the resistance didn't even manage to get one down. How is that even possible?
Mind you, looking at the Gauntlet run, I think it's entirely possible.
Because it's rubbish, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love this. And then it's like, the house robots were even less patient this time. We're just going to just put in a flame pit.
They were so optimistic about fucking drill motors. How?
They said they supercharged it.
Oh my Christ!
And it didn't. They didn't supercharge it enough, clearly, because it didn't win.
It didn't do anything. It was rubbish.
It's pretty shit. Oh god! And then Demolition Demon, who did the best, got shot on by the house robots.
Pretty much, yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know what they were jealous of or why they decided to attack him, but it was actually quite an advantage because they took off their saw and they kind of acted like a little, they spun around and they actually helped them knock down more barrels.
Yes.
It was actually proved to be a viable technique because they got they got more than 10, so it worked. Victor. I would say probably performance-wise, excluding if PS Resistance wasn't in this heat, Victor would have been out. They would have gone nowhere because they couldn't. Again, they're too big. They just stuck on everything, and then they just had to resort to hitting one of the barrels, which didn't really give them any points.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, again, Victor was so rubbish, wasn't he?
Oh, just preach to the choir, mate. But if you didn't realise, PS Resistance went out.
Yes.
Who
Thank
could have predicted
Christ.
that?
Thank Christ for that. PS Resistance is gone. Huzzah! We almost always right in the world. We still have Napalm in the
Almost.
heat, but still.
Caliban went out, so not everything is great. But now the first battle, Pandemonium against Napalm. Fuck this battle. Fuck this battle. Seriously, this is dumb, even by Series 2 standards. Right? Normally, right, this is another problem with. We get to talk about another problem before we even talk about the battle itself. Is the PPZ.
Oh God.
Series 2 decided to. Right, I get a little rant this time now. The PPZ stands for Perimeter Patrol Zone. Okay. Now, in Series 1 and throughout the rest of the series, you had CPZs, which were corner patrol zones. This was obviously to give the robots more of a fighting area, so they could have a better battle. The house robots would only interfere if the robot broke down, they could come out the little corners, or if they got pushed into the corners or onto an obstacle. This made sense because, again, more area to battle in, more time for the robots to do anything, and the house robots weren't too interfering. Now you have a PPZ, which acts like a sumo ring essentially around the arena, meaning that any robot that even touched a tiny bit of their robot into the PPZ were pounced on by every house robot and were basically either flipped over, burnt, destroyed, eliminated, every other which way but Sunday. As a result, this meant that many robots could simply just push a robot into the PPZ and they'd be done. Over. That was it. Your contest was done. It was like a sumo match again. You're out. And it didn't matter to the degree of how much you were in the PPZ. You just had to be in it.
Oh yeah.
And Pandemonium found out the hard way in this first battle against Napalm, because Pandemonium was, rammed into Napalm a little bit, a little pushing contest. Pandemonium backed up for a second to get another run at Napalm. Matilda came in, flipped him on the side, out.
Yay.
No consequences, just out. And I argue Napalm was actually, I think Napalm broke down in that battle. If you look closely, it wasn't even moving.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
Wouldn't surprise me. I mean, it's one of the few times it's surprising it doesn't break down that often, annoyingly. But that's one of the times it did break down, and I think it did, because if it didn't, then it wasn't moving very fast.
Credit for that, it was quite reliable on that sense, anyway.
It's surprisingly, it was more reliable than any other incarnation they had, the Series 2 and 3 version, because that thing still moved after Stegosaurus' battle in Series 3.
That impressed me, because I actually never saw that battle, so when I first saw it, when it was on YouTube,
Mm.
I was, honest to God, shocked that it managed to last as long as it did, because obviously all I saw was a replay in Series 4, because obviously I didn't start watching until Heat Eye of Series 3. So, of course, I saw a replay in Series 4 of Stegosaurus smashing as well. I thought, it must have broke down eventually or something. But no, it lasted to the judges, and I was like, what?
But Napalm here, it got damn lucky that Pandemonium just happened to touch the PPZ for a few seconds.
Lol, sorry, not sorry, and there you go.
It wasn't as brutal as some of the robots get later on. Cough, cough, hardvark, cough, cough.
God, yeah.
But some robots, I can think of other robots, like Elvis got completely pounced on, Ramesses II got pounced on, all got pounced down.
Yeah,
the latter managing to break their chain because they've got pounced on.
Yep.
It just felt like an unfair system, and the PPZ was unfortunately in every single battle, making most of the battles by default shit.
Yes.
Even extended to the reserve rumble and the super heavyweights and all. They just kept interfering every time. I mean that reserve rumble, that was just one at a time. The house robots picking off the contestants.
Pretty much, yeah.
Every single time it was because they went out, not because that's why Jim Struts won. Did nothing.
Went into the PPZ.
Yeah, Jim Struts did nothing. That's how it won.
He just walked away.
Yeah, it was just one at a time picked off by the house robots. That was it. And while it was at least entertaining to watch Forklift get destroyed, it wasn't fun to the fact that's how they won. Yeah. But oh well, what are you gonna do? Then it was such a quick battle, but such an annoying battle. And I've talked about it less than the actual battle, whatever. But anyway, we'll get to the slightly more clean cut battle. Victor versus Demolition Demon. Victor broke down. Are we surprised?
No,
I was fucking surprised that this thing broke down.
No. This was not a good. But literally, it was a Series 5 match, mate, wasn't it? It was just forward breakdown. What you fucking do?
Also, I love that Jonathan Pierce overly hyped the power of that saw. because it broke on contact against Victor, and he went, "Oh, that caused the damage." No, it didn't. It broke down.
Yeah.
Because it touched the armor, therefore it counted as breaking. Yeah, that's what caused the damage. Nah,
No, silly Jonathan
that's one of
Pierce.
the few things that annoys about Jonathan Pierce. Is that while I do love enthusiasm, he just constantly misses out obvious things.
Yes.
Like, and it overplays like a really bad weapon, napalm.
Yes.
And it's just it's really funny how he does that. And I was like, no, no, no. They just broke down, and yeah, Demolition Demon surprisingly got off scot-free against the House Robots this time for some reason.
Yeah.
I guess they just didn't. I guess they didn't hate them. Oh,
Yeah. Again, that makes no sense.
I know. It's like, well, why were you against him in the trials? I mean, I don't know, but there's not much to say about this spell. Bumped, Victor broke down, House Robots killed them. Done. Yeah, that sounds about right. And now the more interesting battle out of the two is the heat final of Napalm against Demolition Demon. Considered one of the more controversial judges' decisions.
It is, isn't it?
It is very diversive in some ways.
Now I've been meaning to do this one for a long time for my judge decision on the wiki thingy.
Yeah.
Which is where I basically look at judges and see whether or not they were right and whether or not they were wrong, or whatever.
Hmm.
I personally,
Yep.
I've watched this so many times, and I still to this day don't actually know whether I agree with the decision or not. It's one of those really annoying ones. I would say probably not, just simply because I believe Demolition Demon was able to push Napalm into the PPZ a couple of times,
Hmm.
but that also exemplifies exactly what we've been saying. How come that could get pushed into the CPZ no problem whatsoever, yet something else gets pushed into the PPZ, sorry,
Hmm.
and it gets pounced on and killed in a matter of seconds?
It's exemplified later because in a couple of about 2 or 3 heats time, we get Behemoth versus Inquisitor, and that gets pounced on.
Yes.
As soon as it goes into it was literally the same battle. We lifted it up, pushed it into the PPZ, and then pounced on it and out.
Yep.
Here, it's happened a few times, and they were like, "We don't feel like it today."
Yeah.
Why don't you feel like it today? What, Napalm too good enough for you?
Yeah, it's that bunch of strap. I would probably say Demolition Demon deserved it more just because, like I said, it pushed into people's head. What I will say though is that it wasn't a very good battle.
No.
I mean, I get. Well, it's got napalm in it.
Two ineffective robots pushing each other.
Yes,
Just like Series 1.
Yes.
So nothing has changed.
Yeah.
It's weird how the battles have got worse in Series 2 somehow.
Yeah, I didn't like this one. I didn't like this battle at all. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's not a good battle, and I would personally still say that Demolition Demon did deserve it. But there are arguments where Napalm could have won it as well, so it is a bit iffy. It's not as clean cut as some of the like more. I don't know. I'm trying to think of the one that's like Storm 2 versus Typhoon 2.
Yeah.
That one's a bit more obvious who probably won that one, but and we know why they lost. But yeah, here it's just I would give it to Demolition Demon, but I probably would have listened to what people say about Napalm and gone maybe, but I still think Demolition Demon.
Yeah, fair enough.
But either way, Napalm managed to make it into the semi-finals. The first of 12 robots, not 6 this time. They doubled the length, double the fun, double the frustration.
Yeah, double the fun. Yeah, that's a very good way of putting it.
And you could tell by about heat, but by GBH's heat, they're running out of good robots.
Yeah, I mean,
Their peak was King Buxton's heat, and then it just kind of went, oh, you have Ivanhoe, Brute, Angel of Death, Havoc, Enzyme. Yay! These are robots I want to see get through.
I'm going to say this right now. In my personal opinion, this was the only heat, in my opinion, where the best robot actually didn't make it to the semi-finals. I will happily say that.
Yeah, even Heat L, which is a shit robot, shit heat, sorry, Hardvark did deserve it.
Yeah, in my opinion, every single semi-finalist, apart from Napalm, was a deserving Heat finalist and was the best.
I agree,
best robot the Heat actually won it.
There isn't a single robot I've gone,
Maybe King B's Heat, because I think All Talk was slightly better performer, but at the end of the day, when it came to it...
And maybe Robodoc if it had done a bit better.
Yeah.
But yeah...
All in all, King B beat them both fair and square, so I'm happy to say it.
Oh, definitely. It was a fair battle.
Yeah, this is the only heat where I can happily turn around and say, no, best robot lost, one of the worst robots that he actually didn't get through.
I mean, in King B's Heat, all the 3 battles weren't bullshit.
Yeah.
So, it's very rare for that to happen.
Very, very rare. Yeah, it's probably. I hope to be part of that episode because that's my favourite heat of the series. Actually, believe it or not.
I can understand why, actually. I mean, it's up there for me, but overall, Heat A was a shambles. It really was.
It really was.
The first Heat. I mean, thankfully, the next Heat is a little bit better because we get a few decent robots in that.
We also get the debut of the first incarnation of a very certain 2-time champion.
Yes, that is true. We also get a few. Yes, we got
a debut of a legendary team as well.
Yeah. So overall, out of 10, dare I ask, what are you going to say for Heat A?
2.
So that's actually I've doubled my expectation.
You thought I was going to go for one? No. In all honesty, there there wasn't anything I enjoyed. No, 1. No, naught. There you go. 0.
All I enjoyed was seeing PS Visuals get just trashed, and that was it.
Okay, fine. 1. There you go. For that little bit, 1. Happy days.
From comedy value.
Literally it.
I really wish it was in Series 5 when Matilda had a flywheel.
Yeah. This was dumb though. I mean, when it comes down to it, right? The first heat of the series has to be entertaining. It just has to be. It has to be the best heat of the series or at least one of the best heats of the series. Because if it's not, then it doesn't work. Because it's meant to entice you into being, it's like, say for example, you're a first-time viewer. Oh, new series Overwatch. Oh, I've never seen that. Let's see. And this was the first thing you came across.
Yeah,
Bye. I ain't watching that.
I mean, Series 1 had Roadblock, it had Nemesis. They were all right. Actually, the only bad robot was Shogun, really.
The robot catching fire. It had a bit of chaos. It had nothing. Why couldn't Heat B have been the Heat A for this series?
That would have improved me a lot more.
Or Heat F, perhaps. Or heck, Razor's Heat would have been pretty effective.
Yeah, that wasn't too bad.
Imagine seeing Razor. Oh, you know me, I'm not a massive Razor fan, but
it'd be interesting to watch.
Imagine seeing that as your first heat.
That'd be awesome.
It's sick. And it would have also had a really cool upset story as well, underdog story. That would have been really cool and effective, and it had some good battles in it. This was just had nothing going for it.
You forgot the main advantage of Razor's Heat, though.
Go on.
It had Elvis.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, because funny enough, actually, I missed out this first heat when the first episode. Because you said the first episode you watched was Heat I.
Yeah,
Series 3, Beast Bombing's Heat.
Yeah,
it's not a bad. It's not a bad heat. It's not the most average heat for me, that one.
Yeah.
But I saw Mace's Heat, the one series, Heat B of Series 2 for the first time. I'm old school.
Yeah.
And I got pissed off when I missed this heat out because I said, last week on Napalm did this. I was like, what, who? Oh, and I'm actually not that bothered now. I'm not bothered. I think I missed out. I don't think I missed out in some ways. Because Mace's Heat is to me the first heat of the series. I don't care what people say. That was the first heat because you got a decent robot winning, a decent runner. The 2 best robots made it to the heat final. Leviathan looked kind of cool. Wheeler Source are just stupid. People being
Source was stupid but lovable.
Yeah. I mean, it's enjoyable. But also the first Axel bot. That's something.
Yeah, even though it didn't actually do what an Axel bot did, but whatever.
No, but we're good. But CUSA 1 overall. I don't do ratings, but yeah, it's my least favorite heat of the series, followed by Hardvark's Heat probably. They're the 2.
Yeah.
But yeah. Next one.
Easily my least favorite heat of the series. I think Heat L is just slightly better.
Oh yeah. It's my second least favorite.
Which is odd because usually the last heat of the series is usually quite good. Heat F was reasonably good in Series 1. Series 3 was rubbish. Heat P was terrible. That was pretty bad. But it's Series 4, 5, 6, and 7, in my opinion. All the last heats were pretty good.
And even the reboots was okay for the final heat.
Yeah, the final heat. I mean, it wasn't the best.
It had Gabriel at least.
Yes, it was a bit of an annoying heat, but
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do there?
It had a lot of weird stuff going on in it.
Yes, definitely.
Cough, cough. I was in Sam's one. If you want to watch that.
Yeah.
But it's my favorite episode. So next week is gonna be next episode is gonna be a a bit more of a fun one at least. I'll be a bit happier this time.
The one I miss is the fun one. Yeah,
I know you would, but hey, you got to rant. What you gonna do? It's like next week we have a robot that hasn't got the weapon that it's named after.
Yes.
I don't know if it's named after the spray, but okay. You've got a shitty version of Chaos 2.
Hey.
Axel bot that doesn't axle, or bot, doesn't do anything.
and somehow Victorian pram wheels that beat one of the bigger house robots.
Actually, to be precise, Victorian pram wheels and bin lids.
Yay! It somehow manages to beat a house robot.
You have a robot that has the bendiest chainsaw in existence.
Yes.
A robot that surprisingly didn't fit up to its name because the team were quite happy with how they did.
Yes.
And a robot that lost because they went backwards.
Yay!
It's going to be a great heat next week, as I say that, holding a middle finger up, but whatever.
Yeah.
So, it's gonna be really fun next week. Ooh.
Yes.
Next time, yeah. And Craig Charles was there the entire time. He made it bearable without trying to stab himself.
In all honesty, yeah, okay, Craig Charles was pretty good for his first ever heat.
Oh yeah, he cemented himself.
But honestly, this was a 4-star.
It's very hard to make it sound good.
Yes.
But I think that's wrapped up nicely. I think this thing overall.
I think we've worked that out quite nicely, James.
Yeah, terrible heat, but hey, we had fun ranting about it.
Yes.
And stunts at least. We finally got to cover that thing. It was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and next week we have some decent, okayish robots. I mean, I think at least half of them are actually salvageable.
Yes.
Some
of them actually work.
The 2 best robots made it to the heat final, which is always nice to see.
Yes.
We don't have any bullshit from the battle, surprisingly, apart from the heat final, which has a little bit of bullshit.
Yeah.
Although, in fairness, George Francis did fuck up himself.
Yes.
So in a way, it was sort of his fault. He could have prevented it.
Yes.
But anyway, we'll get to that. I think it's Master Wrath, I think. Next time.
Yes, it is, isn't it? Yes.
I think I got Sam for the next one. I don't know which one. We can decide which one you want to be part of later.
Yes. I definitely want to be part of Heats F, I, and that's
F is Panic Attacks, isn't it?
Yes.
So yeah, I'll let you for Panic Attacks and King Buxton's.
King Buxton's. Those are my 2 favourite heats of the series.
Would you also want to do Razor's Heat, maybe? That's Heat D.
Yeah, I could probably do that, yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah, because I only have to Sam and Master Wrath then.
Fair enough.
I've been Andersoned out with 2 in a row.
Yes.
So yeah, so we'll see if I'll see if the next Heat B. You'll probably see if a Heat D next time.
Yep.
So I'm signing off.
So I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.